Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Fnatic Gear Rush Pro gaming keyboard. Now this is the silent variant of the keyboard. You can find it in two different variants. The reason I'm saying this is because the normal version is £10 cheaper than the silent version, which is the one I've got in front of me. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is the difference between the silent version and the non-silent version? Well, quite simply put, it's to do with the switches which are inside. Cherry MX Red versus Cherry MX Red Silent. And that's to do with Cherry, which is the manufacturer of the switches, who determine what the switches sound like. Now I'll get into that in just a second. Now in terms of pricing wise, you might be wondering, how much does it cost? It's £80 in the UK for the silent version and £70 for the non-silent version. Given the price points, it's actually very well priced in comparison to the competition out there, and in this review I'll try and see if it's worth that money. So first of all, what do you get for £80, given this is a silent version? I'm just reiterating that. Now it's terminated by a USB, a single USB, which has got a braided cable, which is fantastic to see. On the top right hand side of the keyboard, you've got two extra USB slots in order to plug in like a USB thumb drive or whatever it might be. You've got keyboard risers, which work great, but it's unfortunate that they don't actually have a rubber grip, which prevents it from sliding. But on the plus side, you do get a nice rubberized palm rest, which is included within the box. Now the palm rest, I really like it, just generally, the fact that having a palm rest is very good, very useful in terms of your ergonomics, the ergonomics of typing and just the comfort of typing. But what I like about this Fnatic one is the fact that it's got a rubberized feel to it, which is great because for someone like me who has usually sweaty palms, especially when I'm gaming, is that I'm not going to be slipping around when using the keyboard. It's a little small thing to note, but it actually goes a really long way, and I really do love the fact that this palm rest actually is rubberized. Now going to the keyboard itself, you've got a lot of functions that you can use with or without software. Now first of all, I do want to mention something about software, and it's one, or if not the only negative thing I really want to point out about the keyboard is its software. Well, you've got a macro 1 to 5 keys that you can use over here from F7 to F11, and unfortunately I was not able to use them. And the reason why is because I was not able to run the software at all. I'm running Windows 10 64-bit, and when I downloaded the software through Fnatic's website, the software exe would just not run, and I could not get the software to just install. So unfortunately I cannot test its macro functions over here, but all I can say is that you can use this keyboard fantastically without any macros, without any sort of software. Of course you can use third-party software if you so wish, but the Fnatic one I was just not able to test. So bear that in mind when you're continuing to watch this video, is that I wasn't able to test macros. But on the plus side, you don't need software to really run this. Unless you do use macros, then of course you're going to need software of any sort of kind, sorry. But in this case, if you don't run macros, you're like myself, then you're not going to need any sort of software to run it. So in terms of the extra keys you get with the FN, obviously I said from 1 to 11 you've got the assigned profile keys, which can be set to macros as well. And then you've got from FN, from F1 to F6, you've got the media function keys, which work flawlessly. Now the F12 button basically disables Windows lock, and it's called the Fnatic Gear button. So you can look that up yourself, but that is literally what it's called. Now in terms of the functionalities of the keyboard and the sort of layout, it's a UK layout keyboard, the one I've got, but you can find it in different layouts as well if you're interested, and that can be found through Fnatic's website or on Amazon. Now in terms of the build quality of the keyboard itself, I must say I'm very impressed. It's got a fantastic sort of a black, non-sort of intrusive look to it, and it's got a sort of rubberized-esque build quality to it. Now some might say, oh, it's only plastic, but it has very, very little to no keyboard flex, which is great in order for those who are literally bashing on keyboards, or those who are going to be worrying about it kind of concaving in. This doesn't have any sort of problems like that, and it's really well built, so the plastic they've actually used is great. Now you might notice that is illuminated. Now if I just dim my lights just a little bit, it, you will be able to see that yes, it is illuminated. It's got a red illumination key. Now the illumination key has got only a few functions, and that is its maximum brightness. If you go one extra from extra brightness, which is FN and 8, it starts pulsating. Other than that, you can reduce the brightness and turn it off completely if you so wish. You might notice as well, underneath the keyboard is the actual, the red sort of look to it. And no, that is not an illumination, that's just how it is built. As you can see over here, it's got a red sort of look to it. Ignore the switch, but underneath. So this means that it's got sort of a red hue always to it, and no matter if you have the illumination on or off, then you will see that. Now, as I've got the switch open over here, I want to talk about the switch, and it's arguably the most important part of the review. Now, the Cherry MX red switch, normal switch over here, is found on this keyboard tester. You might be able to see that it's got a different hue of red. The red over here is more vivid versus the one on the keyboard is just slightly, it's called fainted. Now, that is normal. That is just how Cherry have decided to differentiate the two switches, and that's how they look like. Now, without further ado, I want to go into a sound test, and what I'll do is type on this with just that red key, because that's the only MX red key on this keyboard switch tester, and then go on the keyboard itself. So here we go, just gonna go silent now. So there we go, you can hear that this MX Red, the normal MX Red, has got more of an accentuated sound to it, whereas the keyboard that you heard right in front of you, the MX Red Silent, is very much more subdued. I'll link down in the description below a more accurate description and a comparison between the two switches from Cherry themselves, the manufacturer of the switches, for you guys to understand it a little bit better. Now, I'm also going to go quiet again and just talk about the sound of the keyboard. So first, I'm just going to go silent and just type on the keyboard. So you're able to hear about the keyboard right there, and I must say it does feel and sound quite nice. One thing you might have realized is there kind of was like a spring back. I'm not sure if my camera was able to really pick that up, but the spring back that you hear is actually due to extra kind of bumpers that Fnatic have included, which you sometimes see on more higher end keyboards on their spacebar, enter, and back button. I think it's also included on the shift. Yes, it is included on the big shift button over here, and that is something that's really nice to see. This sort of inclusion basically means that if you were to tap the space button on the left, right, center, or wherever it is, it will properly actuate the key evenly. Without that sort of spacer there, it might do this, it might wobble the key. So hopefully that makes sense, gives you a more accurate representation. So no matter how you press the Fnatic key, it's always going to go down accurately and evenly. It's something that's small and some people might overlook, but this is actually a really nice feature to have, and it's great for people who type a lot like myself. Now, what are my overall opinions or thoughts of the keyboard? I must say it's a fantastic keyboard. Sure, the software didn't work, but at the same time, it's just a testament that I don't actually need any software for it to work. I don't really like relying on software all the time, and the fact that I don't actually have to use it is kind of a plus side. Sure, I don't get to use the macros, but that said, if I'm really into macros, then I could probably get a way around it by using third-party software. If not, contacting Fnatic, asking them for a refund or something like that, I don't know, and sorting out the macros. Or you might just have a better luck on your PC and just be able to run the macros, unlike myself, which the software didn't run on. So, taking away the software inclusion of it, I must say there's nothing that the keyboard does wrong. It's well built, it's got the right keys, the key switches are fantastic, and testament to Cherry yet again for producing fantastic switches which are actually silent and do make a audible difference versus normal Cherry MX switches. And then just the keyboard itself, okay, you don't have any sort of key puller or extra keys included, but at the same time, you've got a really nice wrist rest, and it really works really well in terms of gaming and in terms of its purpose, which is out there in terms of esports. Then I can't see anything wrong with the keyboard. Then factor in the price, it's very competitively priced, and it comes in offering a lot more features than some of its rivals do. Sure, for a little bit of extra you can get a more RGB looking keyboard, you can have a different sort of macro keys and whatnot on the side or the top of the keyboard, but is it something you're going to need? Well, that's for you to decide. In all honesty, at its price point, I don't think anything really comes close to this Fnatic Gear keyboard, and I must say top job to Cherry for producing the fantastic switches, and Fnatic for actually going ahead and producing a lovely keyboard. So there we go, guys. I would definitely recommend this keyboard. If you're looking for something for esports or even for typing, definitely a thumbs up from me. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care.